You're listening to The Secrets of Star Trek, where we discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings found in all the Star Trek TV series, movies, and more. And today we're discussing the Next Generation episode 1100101, or the one with the Bynars. I'm Dom Bettinelli, and joining me today on the panel are Jimmy Akin. Hey, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
And Father Cory Sticha. Hey, Father Cory.
Hey, Dom.
We have some great listener feedback for you at the end of the episode, so folks stick around for that. And I want to encourage you to follow The Secrets of Star Trek in Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at our YouTube channel, where you should make sure to hit the bell and to get notifications, and of course subscribe so that you always see our latest episodes. And another show on the StarQuest network that you're sure to enjoy would be Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. And if you're watching the video, you can see I'm wearing our t-shirt for that. And you can find that wherever fine podcasts are found or at mysterious.fm. So we are talking about this first season episode, 1100101, or what was it, Father Cory? What does that binary come out to?
So 201 is in base 10 and C9 is hexadecimal.
Yep. Okay. Right. So with that said, Jimmy, could you give us a recap of what happens?
This week, the Enterprise rocks up to a starbase where they're going to have an upgrade done on their computer by a partially computerized race called the Bynars. But the Bynars are actually installing malware to hijack the Enterprise's systems. They're doing it on the down low, though. And first, they upgrade the holodeck, which prompts a lot of gushing about how amazing the new holodeck upgrade is. What they really do is create a sexy hologram who, like Vic Fontaine, knows that she's a hologram, named Minuet. And Minuet is so enchanted that she effectively traps Riker and Captain Picard on the holodeck without them even realizing it. Meanwhile, the Bynars set up a fake warp core breach, although we don't have that term for it yet, causing the Enterprise crew to evacuate and send the ship away from the starbase. Once they're outside it, the Bynars head for their home planet, Bynas. Riker and Picard figure out that they've been played and leave the holodeck. They then set the ship self-destruct, which they immediately turn off upon getting to the bridge and learning that the Bynars are incapacitated and dying. Turns out that a star in the Bynar system went supernova and created an EMP that shut down the home computer on the Bynar world, incapacitating everyone there and causing them to start dying. Fortunately, they cloned their planetary computer onto the Enterprise's hard drive, and Picard and Riker are able to download the information back into the planetary computer, saving the Bynar race. Unfortunately, after that, Minuet has vanished from the holodeck, leaving Riker lovelorn. The end.
Your overall impression, Father Cory?
You know, this definitely shows its age as far as like knowledge of computers and stuff like that. You know, how things work and all that. It's not a bad episode. But it is suffering from, you know, mid 80s knowledge of computers, common knowledge of computers versus what we would know today. You know, definitely shows some of the concerns of technology, over reliance on technology that we have today. So that is a kind of a warning for us. But yeah, it's an okay episode, but it creaks pretty good.
How about you, Jimmy?
For a first season episode, it's remarkably good. It's definitely got flaws, but it's not horrendously painful like a lot of first season episodes of Next Gen. It's kind of ridiculous, but it was enjoyable, you know. And Father Cory's right about their knowledge of the writer's knowledge of computers and the writer's knowledge of what supernovas do.
Yeah, I thought that too.
But it's not as for me, it's not as ridiculously bad on the computer front as another, I think it's second season episode where the Enterprise the computer gets infected with a virus and they don't even know what the term virus is.
Right.
So the writers refer to it like a self-replicating destructive pattern or something like that because they don't have the word computer virus.
Right. Yeah. Why couldn't they just have a coronal mass ejection a la the Carrington event? I mean, that's a known thing instead of supernova.
Yeah, supernova would like destroy everything in the system if it's the star in their system.
Star Trek supernovas aren't like our supernovas in our universe. That's for sure.
Well, we know they'll destroy the entire galaxy, so
yeah. Or at least Romulus. So the name of the episode 1101, that whole thing, is actually the names of the 4 Bynars that we see put together. So just so you know that why they did that. And I kind of enjoyed so the Enterprise is going to Starbase 74 for its refit of the computer, which they've been hinting at over the last few episodes that's where they're heading. And I like that they kind of recycle the footage from Star Trek 3 Search for Spock, of space dock. Yeah, it looks good. I have to say, for being 40 years old, it's a pretty good sequence.
I get a kick though that the Enterprise needed warranty work.
Bringing it under warranty, we could still fix it.
I thought there was an interesting moment where there are several interesting moments in this, but one of them is early on when Picard first meets the Bynars, and the Enterprise has shown up at the station late. They were delayed for some reason. And so he tells the Bynars they've only got 48 hours to fix the computers, because in 48 plus 6 hours, they have to be at this other location. And I thought it was interesting that he said 48 plus 6, which could imply that the Bynars are using octodecimal numerical notation, but they don't. They're using binary notation. And so you wouldn't say 48 plus 6 to someone who's using binary notation.
I think he's just being cute. He just means,
I just took that. It's a 6-hour trip. You've got 48. You take
48
whatever
hours.
time left, subtract 6. That's what you got,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got to be done in 48 hours because 6 hours after that we have to be.
I thought
we got 54 hours to get there.
I thought the writers were trying to be clever and it not working.
Yeah, I think you over clevered. They get to meet the man in charge of the building of the Enterprise, Commander Quinteros,
who looks like Picard with a goatee.
Yeah, I know. This must be fated.
Mirror Universe Picard? Oh,
maybe.
The Bynars are an interesting species. They we will see them again in a future season with a different kind of episode. But they are
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, but
no, wasn't there a season where Riker helps one of them deal with the fact that she wants to be female?
No, that was a different species. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was a species that has 3 genders, 3 sexes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, at least anyway, the Bynars
used to have 2 sexes, but now they're monosexual.
Right, and they're
so she's
neither male nor female.
She's an atavist for having female tendencies.
Okay, so in this case, the Bynars, the Riker does refer to them as gentlemen, and gets corrected. They are neither. Whatever. Get the pronoun wrong, I guess, but they are so intertwined with their planet's master computer that their thought patterns are now in binary. So they've evolved, and it's this weird mechanical evolution that they've had. I mean,
they're transhumans.
Yep, exactly.
Right. They presumably are not. They were just normal.
And they even have memory buffers that they are basically permanently part of them, or at least
what John Scalzi would call brain pals.
Yeah,
and they always come in pairs, and their names seem to mirror each other. So, like one of them is 01 and the other is 10, and later they bring on a couple more, and they're devious.
Yeah, it's interesting that they went with binary, because binary is not the only way for computers to work. I mean, it's the simplest, I suppose. That's on off. That's how
They also spell their name wrong because it's clearly based off binary, and you spell binary with an I, not a Y.
Right. It's almost like they wanted to be. Well, of course they're aliens, so they wouldn't be using the English word binary. Except you do. It is Bynar. It's just whatever. So everybody goes on shore leave onto the base except for Riker is sticking around because he doesn't know how to go on vacation.
This is kind of that's what my memory was, that basically everyone but Riker and Picard left the ship. But it's not everybody going on shore leave. Some people go on shore leave, like Tasha and Worf go on shore leave to play Parisi Squares with some people, which leads to Worf talking about the game overly seriously, like we will win at whatever cost, and the honor of the Enterprise is at stake. And Tasha tells Riker that Worf's pulling your leg. I think, believe it or not, Worf is developing a sense of humor.
Yeah,
which is a nice moment for
yeah.
Worf and for Tasha, and remember at this point, Worf is, he was written as not as a series regular, but as just a background character who reports to Tasha. He's not head of security yet. And this is a nice moment in his character arc. But then other people are still on the ship, like Geordi and Data are down in Data's room. Data's doing a painting. So everyone's relieved of their duties, but not everybody's off of the ship until the fake warp core breach.
Right.
Well, and there's kind of a glitch with Data and Geordi, because first they show them up in the conference room, the conference room there off the bridge, because you see all the models of the ships behind them. And then the next time you see them, then they're down in some random room.
Yeah.
They didn't do a very good job of figuring out where Data was painting at.
And we get this tour of the ship by Riker, which is a nice little narrative device where he's going to visit people. And so, like you mentioned, Worf and Tasha, and then, Data and Geordi, and they're determining whether Data can be creative. And I'm like, hey, it's Midjourney.
Yeah, exactly.
Except it's Data E. Then Riker laughs. He's like, look, it's a blind man teaching an android to paint. That's going to be some interest to historians in the future. So
if you look at Geordi's reaction to that, he's not very impressed with it.
No,
I don't
think
blame him.
funny.
It's like, hey, I see better than you do, buddy.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Crusher's going to talk to some cybernetic experts.
Guy.
Yep. And then we get Minuet. And this is really an interesting character who will show up again. I like the fact that a future writer will take this interaction with Minuet and turn it into a part of a future episode.
Where it plays a plot point, because Riker knows Minuet is not real, and so when she's recreated, it shatters the illusion of what's happening around him. He knows it's not real because Minuet is there.
Right. I have to say though, like a lot of first season male-female interaction, it feels cringy.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The dialogue is so bantery, suggestive,
and
it's kind of over the top. I mean, I kind of cut movies and TV some slack on that, because they can't show a relationship usually developing in real time,
right?
Right. And so they kind of have to accelerate things. So Riker, after the upgrade to the holodeck, he says he wants to go to 1958 New Orleans and to a jazz club at 2 a.m. And he wants 3 guys to play with and a trombone for himself. And he goes in and he generates a woman to be an intimate audience for the performance. And at first he goes through 2 women, both of whom are attractive, both of whom have monstrously huge 1980s hair that is totally inappropriate for 1958.
Yeah.
But then he comes up with Minuet, and she has monstrously big hair for 1958 too, but she is a knockout.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The actress is only in Star Trek in the 2 Minuet episodes. And it's interesting that his perfect audience is a one woman who will hang on his every word. He does approach her and use the line, the Casablanca-esque line, what's a knockout like you doing in a computer-generated gin joint like this?
Yep.
Which is,
Waiting
I
for
remember
you,
that line.
which was a good comeback.
Yeah.
She says she likes all jazz except Dixieland because you can't dance to it. And it's like, you haven't listened to the right Dixieland, lady.
And they get into a discussion of his work, and Riker reveals something about himself that his work is who he is. He's a bit of a workaholic, I guess. He identifies with his work, which is probably why he's not off on the starbase having fun like everyone else. So kind of interesting aspect of him. He does ask Minuet how real she is, which was another cringe moment.
as real as he wants her to be. And he even talks about how she smells.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, holographic smells. We're virgin on TMI here, guys.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was and then
Picard
they have
shows
shows
up.
up.
I was gonna say they had the whole conversation with Picard where they're literally talking about her with her sitting there. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I know. She's just a computer. She's not that real, because most real women be like, hello, I'm sitting right here.
Yeah, that was really cringy. But then her job is to keep them there, so she can't take offense at anything they say.
When Picard walks in while they're kissing, I'm like, I don't know, if I were Riker, I'd be like, oh, I'm just, you're kissing like a hologram. It's like kind of weird, dude. Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, you've basically walked into your first officer's hollow porn.
Yeah.
Right. It's like,
I was going to say, Lower Decks makes it clear that stuff that's more X-rated gets done on the holodeck. So that's nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, DS9 makes it clear too.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Quark has programs like Vulcan Love Slave.
Right.
That's right.
So Minuet does enchant Picard with her speaking French, vous êtes Parisien, and then so I translate it as deep. He's like, you sound very French, or are you Parisian? I think it's vous êtes Parisien. Are you Parisian? And she says, deep down, it's true. We are all Parisians. It's like, oh, that is very French.
Yeah, I love how she deflates it. Was like, I guessed from your name that you were French, so I accessed the language data bank.
She activated Google Translate.
So there's this fake program that, what was it? It was who was it to text it? Was it the kid? Oh my gosh!
Oh, Wesley.
Oh my gosh! I kept wanting to say Wesley, because Will Wheaton. Detects a problem with the magnetic containment. As you mentioned, Jimmy, in the future, that would just be a warp core breach.
Yeah.
And Geordi says, and he wants like, should I get the captain? And he says, oh, don't disturb the captain. We'll take a look at it. Like, the ship is going to explode in a massive antimatter explosion and take out the entire star base.
Well, at first it was just it was out of alignment or something like that. It was
degrading.
So
yeah.
Before that, so Riker from the get-go has been suspicious of the Bynars for no apparent reason. It's like, these guys are Starfleet engineers. What's your problem, dude? But he's told Wesley to watch them. And this leads to an interesting foreshadowing moment in the story where early on Wes is talking to him and they complete each other's sentences. So like 1-0 will start a sentence and 0-1 will finish it. And Wes is talking to him about how they're integrated with computers and they've got these BrainPal memory buffers they're wearing. And he talks about their species integration with computers, and he's saying, wow, it must have such advantages. And the two Bynars he's talking to say, and a few disadvantages.
Yep.
And these are women who are playing them using vocoders to make their voices sound weird. But that's a foreshadowing. There are a few disadvantages, and we're going to hit one in this episode where their whole planet gets taken down by an EMP.
Right. I do like the fact that Data, as third officer, takes the correct
second
action.
Officer.
So, I'm sorry, second officer, right, because Riker's the first. It takes the correct action and orders the ship to be abandoned and removes the Enterprise from the starbase immediately.
Right. Yeah, well, so he says we're going to have a warp core, without the term, we're going to have a warp core breach in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. There are over 1,000 people on that ship. They are never getting off in 4 minutes.
Well, not if you're lining up at transporter rooms.
No. I know, and especially not the way they show it, where people are just walking and, in order to get 1,000 people off that ship in 4 minutes, you'd have to have computer-controlled site-to-site beam outs simultaneously, just ripping people out of wherever they are.
Including from the starbase's transporters. Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
And we do know that there are people that are off. We only see a couple, but we do know that there's others that are off the ship. So it's not all 1,000 people. But yeah, and why don't you see shuttlecraft coming out the back end? And
Yeah, I'm also pretty sure the sequence takes longer than 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Given the slow pacing of this episode, because this is a pretty slow paced episode, and especially in the beginning. And then at the end, it's down to just Geordi and Data are on the bridge, and they say, "Oh, we've got 41 seconds left to either departure or detonation." But it's like, guys, you never got everyone off that ship in under 4 minutes. They apparently recycled the abandoned ship footage, a lot of it from Farpoint, Farpoint, when they did the battle bridge separation.
which we won't see again for a long time. So
you do see a guy wearing a scant in it, though.
Yep.
I did see that guy again. He's famous. Why do the Bynars keep Picard and Riker on board?
Oh, they explain that. It's because in case we die, you
Right.
will be here to restart our planet's home computer.
That's why they leave the clues about Minuet.
Yeah.
In the file. Okay.
Frankly, the writers missed a trick here because they spend a bunch of time trying to figure out what would the file name be for the download code, to execute the file. And they're talking about how it should be something right in front of us. They wouldn't make it hard. The obvious answer is Minuet.
Well, there's even staring at her when he says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's the password.
But not the file. Right.
Not the file name. The file name was all the 4 Bynars.
And the way they get to the file name is they brute force it. They start searching on binary number sequences starting with 1.
Well, you only have so many combinations of the 4 names because that's what it is. They aren't searching 00001, 00010, and so on. They're doing the 4 of them rearranged. So there's only so many combinations.
I thought
Enterprise
that's what
computer
they did.
can probably brute force every password.
Because that's where they said it's got to be right in front of us, and then they look over and you see the 4 Bynars laying there. So it's the names of the 4 of them. So yeah, that was, and they just show that they're flashing through the different sequences of those names, but it wasn't a brute force. Let's start with 1 binary, 2 binary, 3 binary, and so on.
Well, they were actually on the holodeck when they said it's right in front of us, because I do remember them staring at Minuet. But I get your point. And even if they brute forced it, the Enterprise computer could run through every possible combination in about 2.2 seconds.
Yeah.
But this plan, assuming that's correct, that it's based on the names of the 4 Bynars, you're assuming they're going to remember their names. Minuet is the one the humans have been interacting with. They'll know her name.
Yeah.
If your species is on the line, go with Minuet.
The another little bit of a hole. It's a general problem Star Trek has. Was there's no other Starfleet vessel at the starbase.
Yeah,
maybe ones that are being worked on, but not within
3 days
range.
away.
Yeah,
next one's 3 days away.
It's always drives me crazy. What was the other thing? There is a moment just before this where Riker, before they discover that they're being had, Riker says to Picard, "It's uncanny. I could develop feelings for Minuet exactly as I would for any woman." And Picard says, "Doesn't love always begin that way, with the illusion being more real than the woman?" I'm like, what? Wow. I mean, I get it. There is an illusory phase at the beginning of attraction. Sure.
And this is why Picard was not married.
Yes, and French. So the utter distract at this time was 5 minutes long. It wasn't shorter than that. Wasn't longer than that. It was 5 minutes.
I know, they said they couldn't change it, which is ridiculous. Of course you should. If you're going to program self-destruct, you should be able to control when that happens.
Yeah.
And they do eventually fix it where they can say, set self-destruct for 2 minutes. Don't give me any more warnings,
Yeah.
It was interesting that when they said it this time, unlike in the original series and the movies, they didn't have to give security codes.
Right.
It was all just based on biometrics.
Yep.
And they don't take it down to the last second, which is a trope that you often almost always have, is down to like 2 and like stop. And
but then after they said it, they are walking determinedly through the corridors. It's like, guys, run,
yeah,
run. Don't walk determinedly.
Site to site transport or something. Yeah. Data, meanwhile, second guesses himself. Should I have been doing something frivolous like painting? Shouldn't I be on the Jody says you can't be on the bridge 24/7. It's like, actually I can. I'm an android.
Yeah. I don't need to rest or recreate.
And maybe he should. Maybe if you have an android officer, maybe that should be a thing he does. But that's a whole Data being kind of human thing that they get into. There's another bad science supernova note. A star in the Bynar system went new supernova and they miscalculated. The EMP from the explosion was going to knock out their main computer. Again, all you had to do was call it a coronal mass ejection or solar flare or something.
Yeah.
Well, the one that caught me on that wasn't so much the supernova. It was like So why exactly is your computer not in a Faraday cage deep underground so
Not
that
hardened
it wouldn't
against-
cause a problem?
Even we can do that now. We can harden our stuff against,
In fact, we just actually survived a Carrington level event.
Yes. Yeah. The Aurora Borealis that people saw in the northern latitudes. And interesting, how do the Bynars communicate with that computer over light years?
Presumably subspace. Well, they've also got the BrainPal memory buffers.
Yep.
Yeah, it might be it. So Picard takes the helm. He only does that 3 times in all of TNG. We saw that one other time recently in the one where they were in the trap. The ancient
booby trap.
The booby trap one. Yes. That was the episode.
Because he's the hero and he's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I have a note here, and I hate when I don't leave my context for it, but it says not Minuet. Why?
She vanishes from the. So when Riker goes back down there, the woman he sees is not Minuet anymore.
So why not?
I know it doesn't make any sense. It's
because she was
the Bynar's programming has been removed. Except if that were the case, the whole bar should have vanished.
Yeah. It's
it
would be a different bar.
She was like a virus implanted into the bar program.
Yeah.
And so when the Bynar's programming left, so did she.
If I'm Picard, if I'm Riker, I'm like, get it back on subspace. Hey guys, as a favor, since you did do this to me, you might send that file back.
Well, they're going to have the Bynars that did the work on the ship, under custody, admittedly, but they're going to have them. So, let's go down and once you fix that back up, give me that part back.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been creepy, though.
Yeah, that is creepy.
Yeah.
But we do get the foreshadowing that gets eventually paid off, like we said before, where the last line is, she'll be difficult to forget. And that's exactly what causes the future alien incursion to think that Minuet is real.
I don't think that was. I don't think that was foreshadowing. I think that was a retcon based on that line.
That's right. I mean, within the universe, it's a bit of foreshadowing, but I can imagine the future writer going from that line. So,
there's also another nice. So there are 2 good Bynar lines in this. The first one is and a few disadvantages.
Yep.
The second is at the end where where Picard asks him the obvious question: Why didn't you just tell us? And the Bynar say, "You might have said no."
Yeah.
And but this is ridiculous. I mean, apparently they're a Federation planet. They don't say that, but they appear to be, and certainly they're in Federation territory, and they know about Federation ideals. We're not going to let a planet die like this,
right? And it doesn't seem like it, endangered the Enterprise at all to do this. So why not? Sure.
But that let him have the line about, that's right. They think in binary, meaning it's either they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. It's not going to be, let's find another option.
And when the fate of a species is at stake, you're not going to leave anything up to chance.
Yep.
I guess.
Yeah, I think you ask first.
I think you ask. Yeah. All right. So any other notes on this one, Father Cory?
So, of course, you have the idea that everybody in the future can read every single language always perfectly. Picard is looking at a Bynar display, and he's able to read, now the computer's booting up, and now it's doing its pre-check sequence, and it's like, how does he know that? It's not in Federation standard. It's in Bynar. Apparently, he can read Bynar.
For a race he just met.
Yes.
They need the TARDIS translation circuit for that.
Universal Translator doesn't work on it.
Yeah.
Luke, tell your dad to make sure that they speak binary.
Yeah. So one visual note that I did like. Now, I mentioned that particularly in the first part of this episode, it's a little slow moving. It would be cut quicker today. But there is a nice moment where after they've evacuated the ship and it's left the space dock, we have this sequence where we pan through or move through the corridors of the Enterprise with shaky cam. So it's unstable. We're not seeing a locked down shot. It's drifting to the right and to the left a little bit and up and down a little bit. And we see how empty the corridors are. And I thought it was an effectively creepy sequence to see it like that. It's actually shot like something in a horror movie. But I thought it was effective in this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, they usually reserve that sort of thing for like when an disembodied alien is moving through and stuff.
Yep.
So it gives you that mindset as you're the viewer watching it as something odd going on.
And you see all the red alert lights, and not just on the walls, but reflecting off of the glass on the walls and things like that. And it showed that the ship was abandoned. It's empty.
I like when Riker and Picard come out of the holodeck and it's like, wah, wah, like, holy smokes, what did we miss?
Yeah.
That was pretty dramatic. Jimmy, did you have any other final notes?
Nope.
All right. So I want to move on to our listener feedback. And this came in from Tim via email. He says, you've mentioned Gene Roddenberry not being particularly friendly to traditional religion. You've also mentioned Leonard Nimoy throwing his weight around to do things like get Nichelle Nichols and George Takei hired for the animated series. I'm not familiar with anything that happened behind the scenes, but given Nimoy's Jewish background, do you know if Roddenberry received any pushback from Nimoy? And please correct me if I've misunderstood anything you said. Thanks, and keep up the great work.
I'm not aware of Nimoy ever giving Roddenberry pushback for his religious views, in part because they incorporated religious views into the original Star Trek.
Right.
We have the Bread and Circuses episode where they have, it's not the sun in the sky, it's the son of God. And we have the Who Mourns for Adonis episode where Kirk says to Apollo, we've always found the one God sufficient.
Yep.
And so they had a more religion-friendly approach in the original series. I also don't know how much power Leonard Nimoy had during the series itself. I've read memos. Like I read one memo where they'd been out shooting an episode on location, and Roddenberry felt that Shatner and Nimoy had both severely misbehaved, and even DeForest Kelley. And he wrote them this memo where he just reamed them out and said, this has got to change, and you've all behaved inexcusably, even you, DeForest. And if you don't straighten up and fly right, changes will be made.
Well, and Leonard Nimoy said that in an interview that he did the Vulcan salute, which was the Shem blessing from the Jewish temple, because he was just given instruction to do something, some salute that looked alien. So this wasn't like he was throwing his way around to, we're going to have this religious symbol. It was, he was told, do some kind of salute, some kind of greeting, and that's what he came up with.
Zabagabi.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very different than having, and of course, Roddenberry didn't really kind of push his more atheist views, humanist views until TNG era. Of course, what does God need with a starship is kind of one of those big ones.
Yeah, he did. He did reject the idea, and I think this is ridiculous, but he did reject the idea of the Enterprise having a chaplain. Yeah. Because in the Balance of Terror, the young couple that is getting married was supposed to be a chaplain who was marrying them, but Roddenberry rejected that, and so it ends up being the captain who's going to do the ceremony.
But the ship still had a chapel.
It did have a chapel.
Not just the nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nimoy also, like, he was Jewish and probably observant Jew, but
so was Shatner.
Yep. Yeah, but I'm not sure that he was of the degree where, like, especially in Hollywood at the time, where you could throw your religion around and get your way, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Also, Jewish people in Hollywood tended to have a get along, go along attitude. Like Jack Benny, is famously Jewish, but every year Jack Benny would do Christmas episodes of the Jack Benny show.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So, I hope that answers your question, Tim. It's a very good discussion that you engendered, so thank you very much. So we want to take a moment now during this episode to have a special message, a special farewell to Father Cory. You're going to be leaving us. Why are you leaving us, Father Cory?
Well, as I've mentioned before, I am seeking to enter the military chaplaincy. Unfortunately, my plans to go into the Air Force chaplaincy didn't work out, but I'm working on possibly the Army. And if the Army doesn't want me, then hopefully the Navy will. But either way, there's a lot of change in my life as far as ministry, as far as where I'm going to be living and things like that. And so to be able to dedicate time each week to recording these excellent shows is just not going to work. And so to make it easier on Dom and Jimmy and the folks on Secrets of Stargate, it's just easiest for me to set a time and, say it's done. And unfortunately that time has come.
Well, we will miss you. We do appreciate you. You've added a lot to our shows over the years, and so many of our shows, and it's been great having you with us. You will always be welcome here. We'll keep a seat open for you, but we're sad to see you go.
And want to ask listeners to keep Father Cory and his further adventures in your prayers, because we all need the prayers of others. So please pray for Father Cory and all he has going forward.
Yes, absolutely.
And the seat will be filled on Secrets of Star Trek by Father Jason Tyler, who will introduce to you when we have our discussion of the new season of Star Trek Prodigy coming up. So definitely stay tuned for that. But again, as we leave, we do want to say thank you, Father Cory, and fair winds following seas.
And it's been a great pleasure to be on these shows for how long? I mean, the entire run of Secrets of Doctor Who and pretty much all of Secrets of Star
More than
Trek.
a decade.
It's been a long time, going all the way back to filling in once in a while on Catholic Weekend. So I've enjoyed my time with SQPN. I'm gonna miss everyone, miss the fans, miss the panelists. I'm gonna miss you all.
Well, Godspeed, and since this is Secrets of Star Trek, as they said in the motion picture, warp speed.
Yes, and live long and prosper.
Now we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Star Trek, including Dave T., Victor C., Jeffrey J., Carla S., and Charles H. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Star Trek and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. This StarQuest show is also brought to you by Exodus 90 and the Exodus 90 app, a daily companion to help you grow closer to God and to become the man you want to be. This summer, join the Enthronement to the Sacred Heart, the Exodus 90 Summer Book Club, and St. Michael's Lent, beginning August 15th and leading up to the Feast of St. Michael the Archangel on September 29th. Go to exodus90.com/SQPN for a 14-day free trial to the Exodus 90 app and to learn more about St. Michael's Lent. That's exodus90.com/SQPN to join us for St. Michael's Lent starting August 15th. And we'd also like to thank Victor Lambs, who edited this episode. So that's it from us. What did you think of 11001001? You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/trek, our Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuest Media. Send an email to trek@sqpn.com or visit our Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. You can also watch The Secrets of Star Trek on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuest Media. We should leave a comment there and should also like and subscribe. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the Deep Space Nine episode, The Forsaken. Until then, Father Cory Sticha, thank you for joining me and sharing The Secrets of Star Trek.
Thank you, Don.
Jimmy Akin, thank you as well.
Thank you. Live long and prosper. And
and once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Star Trek on StarQuest. And remember, according to Will Riker, blondes and jazz rarely go together.